haven't been with you for a few days. Glad to be back. Some of that time was spent in Washington, D.C. at the 54th Annual Legislative Conference. I moderated a panel to discuss freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and how that freedom is being targeted, and your words are now weapons to prosecute, i.e. something called the RAP Act. RAP Act was brought forward by U.S. Congressman Hank Johnson, and also another one whom we may all know, Bonnette, was there as well. And it was good to see individuals who are no longer elected still giving a damn about human beings. So I'm going to take you to some of this. Put it up for my ass. Congressman Hank Johnson, the annual legislative conference, which was sponsored by the Congressional Black Caucus, Congressman Johnson hosted a panel called Protect Black Culture, Stop the Attack on Black Music. Now, that's your context, but it has a proxy to everything else. I had the pleasure to moderate this discussion that dealt with how lyrics of Black artists are now being used in prosecutions all over the United States of America, weaponizing their art as prosecution in court. Now, before I go into some of the clips, I want to make sure you understand the context. If you write a book, your book of fiction cannot become used or contextualized as evidence to be used against you in a court of law. A country music artist who may sing about domestic violence and cocaine use. If that country artist is arrested for drugs, that country music will not be used in the prosecution. I'm just trying to make it plain. So if you rap, and please understand, I know some say they're gangsters, rappers are in studios, okay? Many times they're not even the writer of the rap. They definitely don't own the distribution channels for the most part. Many of them are not involved in the marketing. They're not involved in the production. They didn't make the musical background, the ensemble. At the end of the day, about 12 people had a say-so in that one piece of art. So you have 12 painters on one canvas. 12 painters on one canvas. But ironically, only one artist can be prosecuted according to prosecutors who are utilizing lyrics, free expression against them. And that is the one who's on the microphone. In addition to that, it's a proxy, once again, to come after freedom of speech. It's a back door. And if you say nothing when they come in through the back door, why won't they come in through your front door or your window or anywhere else? So these are the challenges that we're dealing with now. So there's a RAP Act that has been presented, and it is to stop the madness of states doing this. Okay, here it is.
But when courts allow artistic expression to be misinterpreted and misused, we undermine both free speech and the fairness of our judicial system. So I look forward to a robust discussion together. Let's shine a light on this issue, hear from those closest to it, and build the momentum needed to protect creativity and freedom of expression in America. With that, I'm honored to introduce our moderator for the day, Dr. Rashad Richey, my good friend. Dr. Richey serves as the president of Rolling Out magazine, and in 2022, he was inducted into the prestigious National Black Radio Hall of Fame, making him the youngest recipient to date. Dr. Richey serves as the daily television news anchor for Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey.
Willie Prophet, who has been a significant voice for many years, talked about freedom of expression. Here it is.
I'm all for freedom of speech, but the question is, do we feel musicians have the right to say anything they want?
I think there's two trains of thought here. One, we can have a conversation about content, We can have a conversation about what that individual life experiences are that motivates them to speak about the things that they speak about. But then the other part of it is, should people go to prison for it? And see, that's the part that we have to lock in on, because that's what this rap act is about. It's about, should people go to jail for what they said? Not whether or not we agree with what they're saying, not whether or not that song, motivates you to go do something negative. And we can discuss all of that. And we can also discuss the environment in which a lot of these artists come from, in which the conditions produce these kind of ideas and perspectives. But the question is, should you go to prison for it?
Now, this was a question from the audience. So at the end, I go to the audience. I make sure that people have the opportunity to pose a question. And the question was, well, but what about the ones who are saying things that you don't agree with, basically? I also answered that audience member. Here it is.
So fundamentally, all expression influences expression, no matter what. Did the Christian Bible influence the holy wars? You got me on that, right? So in the context of individuals who were already biased to war, yes, it could be utilized in that way. My point is, freedom of expression is something very sacred, because it goes at the core of who you are. And I don't want to take that away. I want to fight for it. I want to fight to make sure you can always have that. But let's talk about it in the context of rap just for a moment. Most of the lyrics are about what's happening in the hood. I'm from a place called Glenwood Road. I was a foster kid raised in that environment. I went in and out of juvenile. So if I had to write a rap song, I would rap about Glenwood. I don't know about anything else. So if I want to correct that paradigm,
there you go,
I need to correct Glenwood.
That's right.
That's it.
And if I correct Glenwood, instead of rapping about cocaine and crack, I'll rap about parties and banquets.
Right.
Experience, exposure, and environment are the three elements that influence us all. Whatever a person believes, it is informed by one of those, or all of those, or a combination of those three E's. And to transform an expression, you have to transform the experience that created the impression that then creates the expression. So this is where we are. I was reminded by a good friend that all traumas, because sometimes it's just a trauma response. Yes, traumas that we experience, therapeutic ways to let it out, maybe through art, etc. But all traumas can potentially become triggers. And all triggers are always connected to some kind of trauma. Now, if you want to start correcting triggers, you have to start understanding the trauma. You have to think a little bit beyond the surface to get this done. All right. Also, we had Dr. Chelsey Green. She shared an amazing story, and all of the panelists are great. We're going to make sure all of the panelists' names are listed in the description. But Dr. Green talked about her experiences as an artist. Here it is.
I have to speak from my own experience. I am a violinist who grew up as the only or one of a clear minority playing in orchestras my whole life. I pursued 3 degrees on a classical instrument of viola, and I will never forget the day that the entire string department and the Dean of Graduate Studies set me down in the office. They had just seen a feature on me and my band that plays contemporary jazz and R&B music happen on DC Fox station that weekend, because we were promoting a show. And they set me down on Monday and said, we didn't give you a scholarship to our institution to be out in the world doing that. So either you show up to what we have asked you to do here, or you forfeit your scholarship.
Wow.
And I said, Thankfully, you don't have to forfeit because y'all can have it.
It's about control. At the beginning and end of the day, it is about control, regardless of your race, regardless of your religious preference or none at all, regardless of your gender. It is about control. The doc, she was given an option to be controlled. She decided to reject it. And today is a prolific voice, very successful, and has a booming career. The point is, let your gift make room for you. Be authentic to who you truly are, and let alignment be your goal. If it doesn't align with you, you don't align with it. But please, if you don't know about the Rap Act, look it up. Guarantee you it's coming to a city near you. All right, Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm also a violinist. There it is. There's my
Nice.
violin. There it is. Okay. But anyway, but she's doing much cooler things than I am with her violin, I'm sure. Also, some of my favorite people are individuals who are no longer serving in elected positions, but still find ways to give back to their community.
Yes.
So shout out to all those guys. Also, just the fact, we're having so many conversations in this country right now about the freedom of speech and how much that needs to be protected, what that actually means, what it actually entails, even though the definition has been quite simple and it hasn't really changed. It's that you can say whatever you want, but the government cannot throw you in jail for saying those things, right? And even within that framework, there are exceptions to that, right? There are certain things that you cannot say. And, if you do, you might get arrested for doing so. But overall, the conversation that's happening now is that you can't say anything that is remotely offensive to anyone because now the government can and should get involved. That is what we're hearing specifically from people on the right who are demonizing all kinds of speech in this country, despite proclaiming to be these protectors of free speech. And it's like, even, like the bros and the manosphere and on like all the podcast bros, they're finally understanding that there is a difference between people not liking you because you say mean things versus the government arresting you for saying mean things, right? There is a big difference. I don't know why people didn't understand that in the first place. But now, as it pertains to art, and that's, rap lyrics, but also just like literature and movies and television and things like that, these things largely, as you pointed out, are controlled by so many big corporations, so many elite people, so many collaborators on one project. And there's always kind of a struggle on a creative project to have your creative voice heard and to have your creative vision portrayed in a way that is accurate and representative of what is actually trying to be conveyed to the public from the artist, right? Whoever the primary artist is. And if you put constraints on that artistic process, you're not going to get anything good. You're not going to get anything that anybody wants to hear. And, also like we all saw like Kanye West, like, Ye, whatever he goes by these days, like we all saw his latest album and like every single song title was ridiculous. Like it was crazy, right? But, nobody arrested him for it. He was within his rights to release that album. But then there's also this weird double standard, right? When it comes to art, particularly as it pertains to Black artists, particularly as you were saying, we know the ones who speak about things that are a little less savory to the average white American, let's say. There's this idea that, the best forms of expression, the best art comes from the depths of your soul, and you have to do everything as an artist to get that out of you, even if it's drugs, like whatever. They've made movies about it. They had Whiplash and they had Black Swan about, just harnessing everything that's in you for this one creative moment of expression that is, like supposed to be the biggest thing that you've ever done in your life. So do that unless what is in the depths of your soul is like too scary for these fragile minds and these soft ears for like, these like white suburban people in America. And I don't mean even to demonize white suburban people in America, because I don't think that they are actually that soft. The rhetoric that we're hearing now demonizing freedom of speech and all these avenues that they're trying to pursue in order to stifle the voices of so many people, that is just a small handful of individuals in this country who are trying to make these cases, right? And even still, like, we can have those conversations as a country as to what is appropriate and what is not, and what is leading to whatever. Those are conversations that we've been having, but the federal government has never been involved in those conversations to this extent before. And also, there is the option to just turn off the radio if you don't like what's on it, right? There's the option to just not stream certain artists if you don't like or relate to what they're talking about. You don't have to listen to it. It's not for you. Not everything has to be for you. And I wish people would get that.
Yeah. And I want to remind everyone of how many stories we've done at Indisputable where somebody killed a bunch of people. Dossier was found. It was known. It was reported. Law enforcement says, hey, it's troubling, but freedom of speech here. We couldn't arrest them. We couldn't prosecute. We could not charge. But if they would have wrapped it, all right, we'll bring you updates as they come.